Assalamu alaikum students. This is Ms. Rabia and today we are going to discuss the topic the Renaissance. Europeans saw the change to the modern era as coming around the 15th century. It was called Renaissance. It represented the discovery of knowledge about humanity that had flourished in the ancient Greek and Roman civilization. They were most concerned with looking at the potential for human growth, learning, and development. The Greek and Roman were seen as civilized people who believed in unlimited human potential that could inspire society to expand new knowledge and ideas. The Renaissance basically a period of European cultural, artistic, political, economic rebirth following the Middle Ages, generally described as taking place from the 14th century to the 17th century. The Renaissance promoted the rediscovery of classical philosophy, literature, and art as well. Italy, the center of Renaissance. In Italy, the major cities were political units that became stronger and more stable under the rule of major dynasties and business families who sponsored the arts. Famous artists of Renaissance. During the Renaissance, basically artists started to portray scenes from the Greek and Roman stories, not just a religious scenes as in the Middle Age. There were many famous Italian Renaissance artists like Michelangelo. He was the artist of the Sistine Chapel ceiling in the Pope's palace. Michelangelo was an Italian sculptor, painter, architect, and poet of the High Renaissance born in the Republic of Florence, who exerted an influence on the development of Western art. Raphael, who painted the enormous schools of Athens on chapel walls in the Vatican. Leonardo da Vinci, who painted many famous scenes from ancient myths like Bachu and Ariadne. Bachu and Ariadne, actually it is an oil painting by him, and it is one of a cycle of painting of mythological subjects. Muslim influence on the Renaissance. The scholars of Islamic empires had translated thousands of ancient Greek into Arabic. Europeans traveled to Spain and began to translate many of the Arabic texts into a Latin. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad and the University of Cordoba in Muslim Spain had far more books than any European city. Ibn Rushd was a famous philosopher who wrote his thought about the famous Greek thinker Aristotle. When the Italian wanted to study the Greek further, they would begin with the Aristotle and his work. Impact of European Renaissance. The first one is the growth in prosperity. Basically, uh, there was a connection between the growing commercial prosperity of the Dutch people and their cultural renaissance. Science and navigation. There was the impact of science and navigation during the Renaissance as well. People in coastal societies like Spain, Portugal, and England started to cross the ocean in search of new wealth and opportunity. There were also new development in science and navigation, so that explorers could consider going on much longer journey than ever before. Reformation. Renaissance brought in some revolutionary ways of thinking. These ideas were not against religion, but they encouraged people to think about the direct connection between a person and God. They actually to make some changes in their religion as they were instructed by the Catholic Church to follow the religion in that way. So they want to change some things in their religion. That is called Reformation in Renaissance. This brought a major change in European Christianity called Reformation. Astronomy. There were also new revolutionary development in science when people started to rely on what they could observe with their own eyes rather than what they were instructed to think by the church. People want to observe the things or develop the things that they can see by their own eyes. They can do experiment by themselves. They don't want to be instructed by the church or by the church policies. The most significant ideas was in astronomy. The Polish scholar Nicolaus Copernicus established that the earth rotated around the sun. Copernican ideas were opposed by the Roman Catholic Church, which continued to insist that the earth was the center of the universe. Galileo Galilei was the Italian scientist who followed Copernican ideas and did major work in developing a telescope and astronomical observation.